first order of business is going to be to plug in a USB drive and open disk utility. Once you have disk utility opened, you're going to select the external USB drive, click erase, and name it My Backup. Make sure it's macOS extended with a GUID partition map. Erase. You also have the option to make it a more secure erase, but it's not necessary. Fastest will work here. And there's your drive mounted on the desktop. Alright, one thing to consider is how large your backup drive is in comparison to how large your internal hard drive is. So my internal drive is 869 gigs large and my external drive is 2 terabytes, which is what you want. You usually want your external drive to be at least double what your internal drive is so that you have some space to make backups go throughout time. The next step is Time Machine. You can find that in the system preferences. Okay, once you have it open, you're going to click on select disk. You're going to choose your disk, and I had the option to use 2 disks since I've used one before. You can say you want to use both or a single disk. It's what you prefer. Although the more redundancy you have, the better. Alright, and from here, you just want to click Backup Now and let time take its toll. Initial backup of about a terabyte can take anywhere between 3 to 6 hours, depending on how fast your drive is. But from here, you pretty much just want to let it take its course. Alright, I'm back through the magic of editing, and my backup has completed. Next thing that you'll want to do is go into the App Store, and we're going to search for macOS Sierra. You can go ahead and start the download. Keep in mind that you will need an Apple ID and password in order to download. Alright, and the download has completed. We're actually going to quit out of macOS Sierra install, and you're going to use the application that I'm going to provide in the download link. Okay, at this time you want to plug in your USB flash drive. Okay, and once again we're going to open up a disk utility. Alright, and we're going to click on erase. And we're going to name this one macOS Sierra. Same follows, GUID partition map and macOS extended journaled for the format. Once again, security options don't really matter. Fastest is okay. You can click erase. Something to keep in mind, your flash drive should be at least 8 gigabytes large, just to avoid any troubles. Okay, details complete. Operation has been successful. Let's quit out of this utility. We'll go to Go, Applications, and since I already have the disk creator, I'm going to launch it. We're going to choose macOS Sierra. That's the flash drive that we just formatted. And then we're going to select the OS installer that we just downloaded from the App Store. It will be in the applications folder. Normally it's on that favorites bar. There we go. and click open. Alrighty, and from here we're going to create click installer. It'll ask for your login or administrator password. And this process will take a while. It may not look like anything is happening, but rest assured that it is. Let it run through its process and just sit back. Alright, and the operation is complete. We're going to quit out of this now. Alright, and right before you restart, just remember to eject your backup disk. Alright, now that it's ejected, you can restart. Alright, and as your computer is restarting, hold down the Option key. Once the computer is started up, click Install macOS Sierra. Alright, that'll bring you to a Choose Your Language screen. This is happening a little bit faster for me than it will be happening for you, only because I'm cutting out unnecessary time for the video. Alright, and from here, we are going to Disk Utility, Continue. Alright, and now we are going to erase Macintosh SSD. Now be careful not to erase the top level of the drive. You only want to erase the Macintosh SSD partition, not to erase your recovery partition and such. Or in my case, I also have a boot camp partition. Alright, and once the erase is complete, it should be fairly quick. You can click Done. Alright, and we will quit out of Disk Utility and move forward into Install macOS. And we'll click Continue and agree to the terms and conditions. Alright, and from this list, choose Macintosh SSD or Macintosh HD, whatever you named your hard drive. Since mine is a solid state disk, I named it SSD, but you were welcome to name it Macintosh HD. Alright, and once again, 30 to 40 minutes later, I cut out that sort of wait period. We are back at the install screen. The setup screen, rather. Here we'll choose our Wi-Fi. And we're going to say do not transfer any information now, since we're doing a manual transfer, not a time machine transfer. We're going to enable location services. That is optional, of course. I prefer to do it for things such as Find My Mac and Maps applications. And I have two-step verification turned on, so I'm going to receive a text message. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. If you have two-step enabled as well, go ahead and do the same. If not, you're going to kind of get to this point now. We'll also agree to some more terms and conditions, create a name for the account and a password. It'll ask you if you like to set up iCloud keychain. I will. This is new to macOS Sierra. It asks you if you want to store your files on iCloud Drive. I do not. I prefer local backups, and I also use Google Drive for other things. So you can do it. It's entirely optional. Also, at this point, it's a good idea to go ahead and plug in your backup drive where you backed up all your data, since we're getting to the end of this. Alright, and here's our brand new clean desktop. One thing I like to do is go to Finder and Preferences and enable hard disks to be visible. You don't have to have those hard disks on the desktop, but I prefer it just for quicker access. Alright, and the next thing we're going to do is go into our backup folder. Mine is a Time Machine backup. If you just drag and drop your files, that's totally fine as well. But I'm going to navigate into the users folder in that backup, and my user account was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Skynet at the time. And we're just going to create two separate little windows. So we're going to File, Finder, New Window, create two separate windows, and have them side by side. This will just make it easier and cleaner to transfer files from the backup drive to the internal hard drive. And you might get a notification. You can say allow. That's for calendars. Under Finder Preferences, go to the sidebar and enable the Home folder to be on the Favorites bar. It's great to have that there for quick access, especially for our purposes in transferring. It'll be a lot easier to have that Home folder there instead of having to navigate to it each time. Alright, so on the right hand side we have our internal hard drive, internal sort of home folder, and on the left hand side we have our home folder that was on the backup, which is my Skynet account. So what we'll do here is open up each folder and transfer the data into their respective folders on the internal drive. So as you can see, I'm taking the stuff from desktop and placing the contents of that folder into the desktop folder. I know that can seem a little odd, but essentially what we're doing is copying like to like. Okay, and since I don't want to copy everything from my documents folder into the new documents folder, I'm only moving select files, and I'll have them on my backup if I ever need to, return to them. Now for music, it is slightly different. Instead of taking all the files and bringing them into the music folder, we're actually going to open up iTunes and drag the music directly into iTunes. Right, and now for many users, the iTunes playlists are a very popular feature, and it's important to get those transferred. So within your iTunes folder on the backup, there are going to be a few files. Depending on the version of your iTunes, you may have a file that's a ITDB or a .xml file. Now, one of those files will contain your library playlist data. So as you can see here, I dragged out both of those files because I wasn't certain. But when you go to File, Import Playlists, and you choose to import the file, it'll only let you import the correct file. So I made the right choice, luckily, and it was the Genius file for me. Now, I'm not someone who uses the playlist, so you see no change on the side there. But for someone who does, you would see your playlist come back in. I'm going to take those files and put them in the trash now. Also quit out of iTunes. Alright. And the next folder I'd like to focus on is pictures. For some users, libraries can get corrupt, albums can get messed up. One way of copying all of your items is by right-clicking onto the Photos library and saying Show Package Contents. And then from there, you'll see your Masters folder. Once you've got that Masters folder open, you can open up Photos. And similarly as to iTunes, you actually drag the stuff into the Photos application instead of transferring it to the folder directly. And once you drag it in, especially if your library is a little large, be patient with it. It may not look like anything is happening. It can take maybe 10 to 20 seconds for it to recognize that an import is happening. The next thing we can take care of is our bookmarks. Now, bookmarks are in the user library, which is hidden, so we'll have to open up a terminal and type in the following code. This will enable hidden files to become visible. We'll also undo this once we're done. It'll be defaults write com dot apple dot finder apple show all files true. And be aware of uppercase and lowercase letters here because they are very important to this. Okay, and then you'll hit return, and then one more code just to finalize it, and that'll be kill all space finder and hit return. Then the windows will relaunch, and you'll see that the files that were hidden and the folders that have been hidden have now become visible. All right, and we'll navigate into the user library for that user account, and we'll also navigate to the user library on your internal hard drive account. All right, but once you're in that Safari folder, you'll be able to copy the bookmarks file and paste it into the same place on the internal drive. And we will repeat the process for Google Chrome. We'll navigate to the Chrome folder, and then within the Chrome folder we go to the default folder, and in the default folder you will see a bookmarks file. Copy that file and then navigate to the same place on your internal drive. You actually have to launch Chrome at least once in order for those files to be visible. So that's something to be aware of. All right, once you've got that pasted in there, you can open up Chrome and confirm that your bookmarks have been imported. Same goes for Safari. And that right there is pretty much the essentials of a clean install with a transfer of data. And the final step that we'll have to take is going back into Terminal and disabling the Show Hidden Files. If you have closed Terminal, you can use Spotlight to pull it up again, and we'll type the exact same code we typed last time, except instead of a true, we're going to have a false. And the final step within terminal is kill all Finder. And once Finder relaunches, you'll see that the hidden files are gone. Alright, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below.